That feeling you're waiting for, that confidence, that clarity, that sense that you're finally ready, it's probably not coming the way you think it is. But what I'm about to show you is how to move forward anyway. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why waiting is actually costing you more than starting ever will. Let's get into it. I got laid off on March 4th, 2026. I was in a role I loved. I grew that company's social media from 9,000 followers to over 40,000 followers. I scaled a webinar campaign that brought in over $1 million in revenue, and I still got a calendar invite. I remember sitting there thinking,
okay, this is it. This is the moment.
And then I had this voice in my head that said,
you're not ready for what you want to do.
See, I'd already been building her income edit on the side, coaching women, helping them turn their skills into income streams, but I wasn't ready. I didn't have months of runway. I didn't have the perfect systems. I didn't have a roadmap for what the first year would even look like. You know what I did? I went all in anyway. Not because I was brave or had it all figured out, but because I realized something, that the feeling of readiness isn't a prerequisite for starting. It's a side effect of starting. Readiness is what happens after you've started doing the work. And here's what I'm talking about. Readiness is this thing we think is waiting for us on the other side of perfect planning. Like if we just research a little longer, build a bigger audience, get one more certification, then we'll finally be ready. But I'm telling you, that's backwards, because readiness comes from doing, not from getting ready to do. The women who've made the most money, who've built the strongest businesses, who've created the most freedom in their lives, they didn't start when they felt ready. They started when they felt desperate enough, curious enough, or just fed up enough to get this thing started. And their readiness showed up later. What if not feeling ready isn't a problem? What if it's information? What if it's telling you you're about to do something that matters? Think about it. When you're about to do something small, something you've done 1,000 times, you don't get anxious about it, do you? You don't lay in the bed awake in the middle of the night thinking about that thing. But when you're about to step into something new, something that could change your life, that's when the doubt shows up. That's when your brain starts telling you all the reasons you shouldn't do it. And that's not a sign to wait, y'all. That's a sign you're about to do something worth doing. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Your feelings about being ready almost have nothing to do with whether or not you're actually ready. I know women who've been researching for 5 years and still don't feel ready. I know women who'd never thought about coaching until last Tuesday and started their business on Wednesday. The difference wasn't readiness. The difference was what they were willing to do without permission. And this is the part where it gets real, because waiting to feel ready means you're giving yourself permission based on a feeling that might not ever come the way you expect it to. You're essentially handing control over your life over to your nervous system. You're letting your brain, which is literally wired to keep you safe and keep you small, you're letting your brain decide when your life gets to change. I started a YouTube channel while I was still terrified of being on camera. I sold my first high-ticket offer while I was still figuring out my messaging. I created my first offer while I was still working a full-time job and managing an empty nest transition. And every single step of the way, I felt like I was faking it. I know you've heard it before, fake it till you make it, right? But here's what I learned. Faking it until you make it is actually called learning. It's called being human. It's called having the courage to be imperfect in public while you figure out what works. The women I coach who are building income, the ones getting clients, the ones making money, they've all told me the same thing.
I had no idea I was ready until I started. I just started and I realized I knew way more than I thought I did.
And if that's you, if you're hearing this thinking,
yeah, you know what? I know I need to make a move on this.
I want you to drop the word income down in the comments. I have a free training that walks you through building a skills-based income stream. I'll teach you what most women miss when they start and why structure matters more than credentials or audience size. This training literally teaches you the exact thing I wish I understood before I went all in. So here's what I need you to understand. Betting on yourself before you're ready is not reckless. It's the safest bet you can make right now. Think about what it cost you to wait. Not just the than money, though we never minimize the money around here. But let's be clear, we're talking about thousands of real dollars a year, year after year, that you're leaving on the table because you're waiting for a feeling. But there's also the cost of your potential to consider. It's the cost of every client you could have helped. It's the cost of every skill that's been sitting dormant because you're waiting for permission. And more than that, it's the cost of your belief in yourself. Every month you wait, every time you tell yourself not yet, you're literally training your brain not to trust you. You're reinforcing the belief that you're not capable. You're making the gap between who you are and who you could be even wider. The women who come to me who have already bet on themselves, who've already started building something, who've already taken that first scary, messy step, they're not more talented than anybody else. They're not smarter either. They didn't have better luck, but they do have one thing. They have momentum. And momentum is everything in this. Because here's what happens when you start before you feel ready. You get data, you get feedback, you learn what works instead of what you thought would work. When you start before you're ready, you figure out who you are in this space. You figure out what your voice is, and you figure out how you want to show up. And that right there, that's what creates real readiness. I could have spent another year planning. I could have waited until I had the perfect offer, the perfect message, and the perfect systems. But I never would have gotten here where I am today. And the thing about it is, you won't either. So the question isn't, when will I feel ready? The question is, what's the smallest bet I can make on myself right now? What's the thing I could do right now today that moves me forward even though I'm not sure? And keep watching because I'm about to show you exactly what that first move looks like and why it matters so much more than you think it does. Your first bet on yourself doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be tangible. And here's what I'm seeing work over and over and over again. The women who are building income from their skills, who are creating multiple streams of income, the ones who are going from
I need something different
to
I'm actually making this happen.
they're not waiting to feel ready. They're starting with what they already know. That skill you use every day, that expertise you've been building for 10 years, that knowledge that feels so basic to you that you can't imagine anyone would pay for it, that is your entry point. That's your first bet on yourself. And here's why this matters. When you build income from what you already know, you're not adding another thing to your plate. You're not going back to school. You're not spending a year learning something new. You're monetizing something you've already invested thousands of hours into. You're literally taking your skills and repackaging them in a way that people will pay for. The first step is understanding the difference between what you do and what you can sell. And that right there is where most women get stuck. You have the skills, you have the experience, but you don't know how to position it in a way that makes someone want to buy it. That's why I created 2K in 2 hours. It's designed for this exact moment. It's the thing you do when you've decided you're done waiting and you want to create a high ticket offer from what you already know. In just 2 hours of focused work, you're going to map out your existing skills. You're going to understand who's going to pay for those skills, and you're going to build an offer structure that works. And what's crazy is how many women go through this micro course and realize they've been sitting on thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars worth of value because they didn't know how to see it. They didn't know how to package it. But the second they do, everything shifts for them. The biggest lie we tell ourselves is that we need to be more of something before we can help someone. We tell ourselves we need to be more qualified, more experienced, more polished, more confident. But the truth, the women who are helping people the most, the women who are making the most money, they aren't more of any of that. They're just willing to be imperfect while they figure this thing out. They're willing to start with what they have instead of waiting for what they think they need. That's your win right there because you already have what it takes. You don't need to go find it or build it or earn it. You already have it. Now, if you're ready to structure what you know into an offer someone will pay a premium for, I want you to head over to my website at herincomeedit.com/2K and enroll in 2K in 2 hours. Or you can just click the link down in the description. If you're new here, my name is Nick Scott, and I help women turn their existing skills into coaching income, digital products, and online businesses. And here's the thing. It's important to understand exactly how you're already ready for this. So go watch this video next. It breaks down exactly how your skills translate. Okay? I'll see you there.